Welcome to the NWI.com Political Roundtable for Friday, December 30th. I'm Robert Blaskowitz, Assistant Managing Editor of The Times. We have a little different format today. My usual partners in crime, Doug Ross and Mark Kiesling, aren't in today, but we have a special guest, Mayor Tom McDermott Jr. of Hammond, also the Lake County Democratic Chairman. We'll be here to talk about well, you're giving the State of the City address tonight, so let's start off talking about what the highlights are there.
Sure.
You spent a lot of time. We just kind of discussed a lot of the financial issues that the city's facing, and kind of the changes in focus that your administration is going to have. You mentioned.
Well, we have a situation that in the city of Hammond where we've been providing levels of protection and levels of service to the government for a long time, and in the tax cap era that we're in, where the tax caps are fully in effect, we've seen $15 million of losses of property tax revenue to the city of Hammond every year. So managing the same level of service that we've always provided with $15 million less every year is becoming a challenge.
Yeah. So what do you do then with the shortfall?
Well, it's just like in your house, you know, if you had a part-time job and you were making, $15,000 a year in your part-time job and it goes away, you either have to make more money or you have to cut. And so tonight's State of the City is going to be different, I think, and it's very specific, it's very factual, and it's blunt. I mean, we need to cut, we need to get more efficient, we need to do things to get closer to that balanced budget that we need to be at.
So when for example, maybe some of the city employees who might be affected by this, come at you and say, well, why are you cutting my department? What do you?
Traditionally in Hammond, we've been blessed with the Horseshoe Casino, and it's been very successful. It's the most successful riverboat in America outside of Vegas. It's the highest grossing casino. We're lucky to have it in the city. But even Horseshoe's not immune to the challenges. I mean, Horseshoe's revenue's down significantly. Horseshoe's got more competitors with the new casino opening up by O'Hare, and they're talking about opening a casino in Chicago and on the south side. So traditionally what you hear from employees and people that are affected is, well, just use gaming money.
Right.
I mean, when the library shut down, and a library satellite branch, 2 library satellites shut down in Hammond, what was the library board's first instinct? Let's go to the mayor and get gaming money. Yeah. Well, the gaming money is not where it used to be, and the fact is it was never meant for a crutch to support the budget. So we need to get our fiscal house in order, and that's what the speech is about tonight.
And we're seeing changes coming about with the gaming industry, certainly with Chicago talking about their expanding gaming there that could impact Northwest Indiana's casinos, including Hammond.
Downtown, I mean, let's face the facts. The new casino just opened up by O'Hare, and it hurt us with our gaming revenue. A downtown Chicago casino would also hurt us. A South Side Chicago casino would be the biggest challenge we have. We're getting challenged from out in Four Winds, out in Michigan. The Blue Chip has a beautiful expansion, and they're talking about land-based casinos in Gary, and they're talking about a smoking ban on the boats, which will affect us financially also. The gaming industry is not what it used to be. In fact, I fear that in 2009, 2010, our highest years of gross revenue, I think those were the glory years. And I'm hoping that's not true, but we have to anticipate that the gaming money is going to go down from here, not up.
We also have the tax cap situation, obviously, which has hamstrung your budget. Talking about the state legislature, what are you looking for in the coming session, and do you have anything on your agenda that you're going to be pushing downstate?
Well, we have an agenda. Our agenda in the State House is always to protect Hammond's gaming revenue. I have lobbyists that work every year in the State House, and that's their main goal. Is if the words casino revenue come up, they're very interested. So obviously we're watching to protect Hammond's gaming interests. There's a number of issues. The smoking ban concerns the city of Hammond. There's issues regarding the Little Calumet River Basin Authority that Representative Soliday and I are working together on. There's a number of issues. The RBA's future is at
How about red light cameras? Because the lobbyist your lobbyist is also representing the I forget the name of the firm that's interested in that,
Very good.
issue.
In fact, I imagine you're talking about Joe Smith of Baker & Daniels, who's he's a new lobbyist we have for this year. He's always been a big proponent of the red light cameras, and typically it was stopped by Pat Bauer, who was at the time the Speaker of the House. Pat Bauer is not the Speaker of the House anymore. He's a minority leader, and maybe red light cameras are something that could go this year. I'm not sure how that's going to roll out. It's not really one of our legislative priorities, but
Yeah.
I would be open-minded. I think for safety reasons, I'd be open-minded.
Right, right. Well, there's a lot to discuss, but right to work is something that has kind of dominated the discussion of late, and you have this kind of wondering whether it's going to overwhelm the rest of the agenda. Do you have any inkling on?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that what you're going to see is the Democrats. I don't anticipate a walkout like we had last year, but I anticipate a lot of non-cooperation from the Democrats' side, meaning maybe they go into 3 or 4 hour caucuses. Who knows? But I think that this is going to be a very scaled down session. With the Super Bowl coming, they're losing 10 days because of the Super Bowl, and with the right to work issue hanging over everything, I think that it's going to be a very tough year in the Indiana State House.
How about the state Democratic Party? There's been some interesting developments lately. We've seen Dan Parker step down and then kind of go back to his role as state party chairman. Any thoughts on that situation, the leadership?
Well, I've been very outspoken about the whole thing. Got into some trouble from my own party. And basically, a lot of people in my party want me to shut up about what happened because it was embarrassing. It still is embarrassing, and quite frankly, it's not democratic at all. And I believe in the Democratic Party, and I think the Democratic Party should set the example with democratic elections, and this was an embarrassment. The chairman stepped down, and an election was about to be held on a Saturday. We all drove down to Indianapolis, and when we got down there, it was evident that Joel Miller was going to be the next chairman, and that was unacceptable to a lot of people in the party. And what they did was they convinced Dan Parker that he should reverse his position and basically act like you never quit, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's basically saying if you send a letter to your boss saying, I quit, and then 6 days later you said, I wasn't really serious, well, how would your boss take it? Well, in this case, we have to operate under the fiction that Dan never quit. Dan quit, and they didn't like what was about to happen, so what they did was they took their ball and went home and embarrassed the party.
Yeah. Well, what does this say then about you get a crucial election coming up where a governor hangs in the balance, a U.S. Senate seat possibly hangs in the balance? What's the impact going to be there?
Well, I could tell you that, in my opinion, the state Democratic Party, has no respect whatsoever for me as chairman of Lake County. Has no respect for a lot of Marion County Democratic Party. No respect for them. It means that we have a major trust issue in our party, and I'm one of the ones that doesn't trust the decision makers right now. And the decision makers are from the deep south, southern Indiana, and quite frankly, a part of the Indiana where there's no Democratic votes, and this is where all the decisions are being made, is the deep south. If you live on the Ohio River, you have more clout than the Marion County Democratic Chairman and the Lake County Democratic Chairman. And that's, I mean, if this is the strategy to win the governor's office, I think it's an unwise strategy personally, but I wish them the best. I'm a Democrat, and I'm going to vote Democrat, but I'm not going to be as excited as I normally am.
Okay. Interested in getting your take, because the Senate, I think the U.S. Senate race is really fascinating. The Republican primary between Richard Lugar and the incumbent and longtime incumbent and U.S. His challenger, Richard Murdoch, who's the current Indiana State Treasurer. As a Democrat, would you rather run against Lugar or Murdoch?
Murdoch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Democrats want Murdoch to win because Richard Lugar is an institution. I mean, I'm a Democrat. I'm the Democratic chairman. I respect Senator Lugar immensely. Our party respects Senator Lugar so much that 6 years ago we didn't even field a candidate against him. So Democrats are hoping that Murdoch wins.
And it looks like the Democratic candidate would be Joe Donnelly right now, who is, unlike maybe other Democrats, he's from up here nearby.
Yeah, South Bend.
South Bend. So your thoughts on him?
Joe and I are friends. I respect him tremendously. He's has a high amount of integrity. He's a wonderful family man. He's a Notre Dame guy like me, so that's our bond. And I've known Joe for a long time. I can tell you that we would be lucky state if he was our U.S. Senator. No doubt about it. Joe's a great guy, but if Murdoch wins the primary, I like our chances. If Lugar wins the primary, we're still going to fight hard, but it's different when you're fighting an institution. Okay, well, it's definitely something we'll look forward to watching in the new year, and that'll do it for the Political Roundtable for this year. So thanks Mayor, for being a guest, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week with another Political Roundtable.